regard, this is all going to be edited. A lot of it is because we want your message to be shown around the world. And I
Yes.
think that no one is speaking it as articulately as you are, bringing the science to the table. And that is so, so important. And too many people are suffering from the reproductive disorders and all sorts of other things. And so let's make sure that we're getting everything you have to bring to the table here.
Okay, sounds great. Well, just let me know when you want to start.
Well, let's get started. I'm
Okay,
really
great.
excited to have Afshan Hussain, Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, once again to talk about what is one of the most important things is how to take care of our bodies for proper reproduction. I know as a fertility specialist, I'm seeing more and more women who are suffering from infertility, miscarriages, and we're seeing things like breast cancer at younger and younger ages on the rise, Alzheimer's, dementia, you name the disease, it's on the rise around the globe. And so I'm really grateful to have uh, Afshan to come back and share with us her knowledge on how we can detoxify our bodies and the methods to do that, including keto and fasting. So Afshan, thank you so much for being here. And maybe just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your background, and what inspires you to be sharing these words.
Okay, well, thank you so much for, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. We spoke about, for anyone who didn't watch the last podcast, we spoke a year and 2 months ago here on Carnivore Conversations. And the last time I spoke, we talked about how environmental toxins can make their way into our body via, the beauty and bath care, hair care, skin care, fragrance. And this time I want to talk about something that's really very recent. It's just kind of breaking now. I think it's a new protocol that's being implemented in clinical settings, as well as now we're seeing research since 2020, really 2021 emerge, primarily because we're seeing this protocol implemented as a protocol in medical clinics, and it's formally being implemented in certain areas of health and kind of less formally in other areas of health. So I want to cover, last time we talked mostly about fertility, but this time I want to talk about, assisted reproduction, cancer patients, the treatment of cancer, the treatment of neurological disease, and how it's soon going to make its way into the treatment of chronic disease because we're seeing it in the research already. And of course, stuff like diabetes, just general other health issues. So I'm really excited to talk about that. My name, as I said, and as you have said, Afshan Hussain, I'm the founder of Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, for anyone who hasn't heard me speak. My company, just to give you a brief little recap, my company has two main objectives. We produce products that are free of toxins for women who are trying to conceive, pregnant, or breastfeeding, because most of the toxins do pass into mother's milk and cross the placental barrier. And we also increase education about what the toxins are. And the reason why, people ask me, why are you doing this? We have a clean beauty industry and we don't need this information and we don't need these products. And unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that the clean beauty industry in the United States is a low tox industry. It's not a no tox industry. The European Union bans 2,500 ingredients. America bans 11.
Mm.
And we spoke last, I just opened my company up like 2 weeks prior, and none of my products were certified. Today, all of my products are EcoCert certified or on the verge of being EcoCert certified. And the only products I don't have that are certified are my makeup products, and I have about 80 of them, 80 packages, like bundles left. And then I'm switching to a pre-certified manufacturer that whether you change the formulation, have your original formulation, whatever, they only make certified, EcoCert certified products. And EcoCert, if you're EcoCert certified, you can't have the bad 2,500 ingredients that are banned. And every ingredient in the bottle has to be certified. And that's really important because in America, what you do is you get the USDA kind of nice little label sticker. And in fact, it's only 1 or 2 ingredients that are certified organic. The rest of it is toxic, synthetic stuff. And it's really horrible. So all I want to say is, that's what I've been I'm proud to say that, all my beauty and bath products, they are certified. And if you're interested in checking them out, my URL is www.pregnancy-safe-cosmetics.com. You can check out the shop. And if you're interested in the research and learning more about what I'm saying tonight, hopefully Malcolm or Jake will post up the research studies that I quote. But if you don't see one or you don't see any, just message me on my Instagram. It's Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics. Follow me. And I will send you the links and the screenshots to the research. So you asked me why I got involved. Part of it is my personal story, which we can touch on. But the other reason is because I feel like we're at a tipping point especially with fertility. And I will just give 4 brief statistics in 30 seconds to show you how much of a tipping point we're at. 1 in 3 women seek assisted fertility in the United States. 1 in 3 women seek assisted fertility in order to get pregnant. 1 in 6 couples, this is according to Pew Research, are now deemed absolutely unable to conceive, infertile. The miscarriage rate used to be 25%. By 2018, it had risen to 30% and was climbing at a rate of 1% a year. And now they're saying that the sperm counts have and the average man living in 2011 had half the sperm count. It had decreased by 50% than the average man in 1971. But now, since 2018, it's declining at a more increased rate, 3 times faster. And now, if you Google this, if you Google 2045 sperm count, what you'll see, and that's what they're predicting, that somewhere between 2045 and 2066, the average sperm count for a man in America will be 0. So we are headed, yes, 0. So we are fast headed towards, we're at a tipping point. If we don't do something, many people have said we're headed towards extinction. And it's not just America, it's a global phenomenon. Why is this happening? Is it happening because we're devolving as a species? No, it's happening because of environmental toxins. Because if one thing research has proven, a toxin is a toxin, whether it's heroin derived from plants or crystal meth, some kind of chemical. You can't do either of those. You're going to die. Drink bleach or smoke a lot of heroin, you're going to die. Just, a toxin is a toxin, chemical or plant-based. And we need to learn what those toxins are and learn what they're doing to our bodies and get rid of them. Now, for anybody at this point, like people say, okay, but can you, before we jump into like the solution, what are these toxins that are causing infertility or Alzheimer's, or, what about Parkinson's? What about chronic disease? What about cancer? I want to say, well, these toxins are making every single situation worse. Cancer is increased by 8-fold. If you look at where certain toxins exist, there's a map. Paraquat, for example, is a toxin that's linked to Parkinson's, as well as certain chemicals that you find commonly in dry cleaning. And if you take a map of the United States and see where paraquat, which is an herbicide, is sprayed in those areas, one doctor mentioned that the people who live in those areas, they have Parkinson's like 500 times higher the rate of Parkinson's, like insane. So, there are very specific toxins that are linked to Parkinson's. When it comes to Alzheimer's, it's slightly different. It's a lot of heavy metals, mercury, also certain chemicals that are commonly found in like sunblock. And even, they found pregnant mothers who've been exposed to certain chemicals used, ingredients used in the sunblock, like it has an effect. And they've been tracking these we have over 50 years of research in some of these areas. And they found that yeah, the children, when they grow up, they have Alzheimer's, like greater incidences of Alzheimer's. And I want to mention, because I know that people, whenever I talk, people say, can you send me some studies that I can read by myself? And I wanted to mention a few, studies, because I think it's important for people who kind of, and I made a few notes, so I'm just gonna
And we'll put
mention.
links. We'll put links in the notes on this for everyone, and then link your website for people to read these things, because I think the science is very important so that people can really see the true links that people are experiencing.
Oh, yes. And I have so many. And I'm going to be sending Malcolm all of them tomorrow. I started sending it to him, and then it was time for me to pick up my 6-year-old daughter. So it's like,
Let me just interrupt or just
yeah,
look at this, and we're seeing an increase in all the diseases, it seems, around the globe. It's not just in America,
no,
all around the globe, and pregnancy safe cosmetics. So we're talking about the things that we put in and on our body that maybe we wouldn't be thinking about as toxic. They say organic, clean, safe, and the things that we're putting in our body maybe aren't the things that most of us would think about as causes for these damaging diseases.
yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason why I think people don't believe that the toxic, I talked about a new three-prong approach. It's a new protocol. The protocol is a three-prong protocol. It involves the ketogenic diet. And
Hmm.
you always say Kiltz is keto is carnivore. So for those of us who are carnivore, we can like take out the keto and put in carnivore. So, it's a ketogenic diet, could be carnivore, it's intermittent fasting, and it's detoxing. Now, when I mention that, people who have tried carnivore or the keto, certain ketogenic diets, they say, my God, after 10 days or after 7 days, I felt amazing. And same thing with intermittent fasting. People start fasting and their pains go away. It's almost immediate. It's like popping a pill. So they do believe, but try to tell people to detox and take the toxins away, but switch their shampoos. They don't feel like immediate. And yet at the same time, it's important. I found, I'm going to go over some of the research, but one of the very interesting research papers I found was what the purpose of the study was to investigate whether uh, it was called a high fat butter diet. So basically a diet that had a lot of butter could counteract the negative impact of BPA on embryo implantation,
Hmm.
because BPA is something that they have found is highly correlated, and all bisphenols highly correlated with like low embryo implantation. It blocks embryo implantation.
Hmm.
Now, the thing about BPA is, we think BPA, when I mention bisphenols of BPA, everyone's like, oh, plastic water bottles, right? But it exists in so many other places. It exists on your receipts. It exists today in like your underwear, and also a lot of like exercise bras or leggings, like all the Lululemon stuff that women wear. And the limits, I read an article that came out 23 times the maximum allowed limit in like Lululemon and certain exercise bras. And so, women undergoing IVF want to feel more supported because their breasts are tender. They're wearing these nice hugging things. It's stuffed with BPA. And guess what? It blocks embryo implantation. They did a study where they took a group of women, this was back in 2016, undergoing IVF, and they just asked two groups of women, and they just asked one group to stop drinking from water bottles and take the tap water and pour it into a glass made out of glass. And the other, they let them drink from water bottles. 28% increase of pregnancy rates. I mean, 28, the group that drank water from the tap, 28% higher pregnancy outcomes, positive pregnancy tests. They did other studies. I've seen 42%. And I just saw, a quote on, I think it was social media person. So she's an educator, and she has these courses that you can take, and that you get continuing education if you're like a medical professional on toxins. And she said it was BPA, remove it in a fertility context, an assisted fertility context, and positive pregnancy tests grow up 27 to 47%. So it's huge. Anyway, they did the study to see if butter would counteract the negative effects, and butter did not. So you really do need to take away, butter might help implantation rates if you're not having BPA, but if you have BPA, you need to remove that BPA from your life. And so this is just one example. Phthalates are highly correlated to early losses. There's a 20, I think it's 2022. Let me just double check this. There are two studies. One was a 2022 study, a 2021 study on phthalates. And there was a link between aneuploidy and germline dysfunction. So that is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's responsible, aneuploidy is responsible for 35% of miscarriages and 4% of stillbirths. They also in 2023 did another study where they took the urinary concentrations from moms who were pregnant early. And they compared 150 urinary concentrations from early gestation pregnancies, maternal concentrations of phthalates, where all pregnancies, all 150, and resulted in miscarriage, and they compared it to those resulting in live birth, and the phthalate concentrations were 3 times as high. So it's correlated to, phthalates correlated to early pregnancy loss and aneuploidy. And then you have another class of parabens are correlated to lower antral follicle count and lower AMH. And there's another class that I think is, I think it's the American Association of Endocrinology came up with the word obesogens. Obesogens are phytoestrogens, so plant-based estrogens. They're also phthalates and parabens, which are synthetic. And they're also certain herbicides, pesticides. These certain specific pesticides, and these obesogens are highly correlated to PCOS. And basically, they fiddle with your hormones in a way to keep you fat and to mess with how your body normally processes fat and to make you obese. Now, I say keep you fat, but I should say make you obese, because at the end of the day, obesity is not about fat. Obesity is about so many other things that you talk about every morning at 5 a.m. So it's not about the amount of fat you eat. It's really about, the other things.
So let me just add a few things. So for those that the aneuploidy and euploidy. So the aneuploidy means it's an abnormal structural count or arrangement of the chromosomes, where euploidy means it's a normal number and arrangement of the chromosomes. And so what you're talking about is the damage from these toxins, and just a general term, toxins, can damage the structure count of the chromosomes and contribute to failed implantation, miscarriage, or other abnormalities that may show up in a live-born in other birth defects. Would you
Absolutely.
agree?
It says that in the studies that.
And when we talk about BPA and the other obesinogens and phytoestrogens and other plant toxins and or synthetic toxins, which are man-made and which are somewhat sprayed on or injected into the food we eat or other products that we consume, may be contributing to our fertility and reproductive damage and all these other diseases that we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. And, I want to say that cancer, as I said, it has increased eightfold. But a lot of these, there's just a brand new study that's I put up on my Instagram. And the study says that if you remove parabens and phthalates. There are many of them, but mostly this particular studies sometimes concentrate on one or two toxins or a limited number of toxins. They don't study everything, but so this particular study said if you stop using daily use products, meaning shampoos, wet face washes, hand washes that have parabens and phthalates in them for 28 days, they saw a reversal of cancer phenotypes. And I want to read you the sentence because it's amazing. It says, reduction of daily use parabens and phthalates demonstrates a striking reversal of cancer-related phenotypes. And then it goes on to say that this, just like stopping to use these things, it's a biologically plausible prevention strategy and prevention of breast cancer. Now, 30% of all new cancer cases are breast cancer. Like, this is amazing.
And younger women and men
younger.
and colon cancer. There's
Colon
things
cancer.
and autoimmune
And
diseases, prostate. They're all on the rise, but we don't have a good answer why. In our it's sort of, if you ask your doctor what's going on, and it's unknown. Tell us a little bit about the parabens and phthalates. Where do they come from?
Parabens and phthalates were so a lot of these are either estrogenic or anti-androgenic. And I mean, they're synthetic chemicals. BPA was originally made as a substitute for estrogen. And so, and phthalates are they're plastic, they're phthalates and BPA, it's like the opposite. Phthalates makes plastic soft. BPA makes plastic hard. They found out after they made, I don't know actually if they created it for the plastic purpose or the estrogen. I think they created it as an alternative to estrogen and found out their effect on plastic and then started using it. I think that's how it is. So, and parabens are a preservative. So you usually find them in any given product for hair care, face care, you name it, because unfortunately, when you go out and like I know I'm creating products. So if I ask my manufacturer to give me 500,000 like shampoo bottles or facial wash bottles, the price per unit is extremely small. If I ask them to make 10,000, it's still, it's still higher, but it's much smaller than 100 or 200. So what these big companies do, they want to buy 500,000 to get that price small, but then they're not sure when they can sell it. So they want to be able to keep it in their warehouse up to 3 years, and then 3 to 5 years, and then ship it to you and have you keep it in your bathtub another 2 years. Okay, my products are not like that. They have like a 2-year, some of them have like 6 months. I mean, they don't go bad, but you're supposed to I small batch order them, ship them out, and people are supposed to use them. So they're heavy duty. Parabens are heavy duty preservative. Phthalates are things that deliver your perfume into you, deliver whatever it is. They're plastic softeners, but they're great delivery mechanisms. So phthalates are in every perfume that is synthetic, unless it's 100% natural fragrance, in which case you won't have phthalates because phthalates are synthetic, so are parabens, so is BPA. But and that's why I always say try to go for something that's certified 100% natural and or organic, but because they won't have these heavy duty things. But at the end of the day, phthalates are also the thing that makes you soft, like your hair soft when you have conditioner. It makes it's the thing in all your lotions. So that's what phthalates are, and you find them just everywhere. I mean, and you find them in plastic wrap. They're in plastic wrap. So and there's a study that talks about transference of phthalates into the foods from plastic wrap. If you have a water bottle or another bottle made of plastic, especially recycled plastic, BPA will leach into whatever you're putting on your hair. And your scalp is one of the most absorbent parts of your body. It's like drinking. There's this great thing I'll just say it's now floating around social media, and where a man pours a glass of, he has two glasses, and he pours a pitcher of water into one glass and a pitcher of water in the same pitcher of water into another, and then he says, I'm going to drop these drops in, and it's going to tell me if this water has chlorine in it. And so he drops a couple of drops and the water turns blue. And he says, I'm going to do the same with the other glass. And of course, it came from the same pitcher, so it should happen, right? He sticks his hand in the second glass, okay? And he waits, it counts to like 3 or 5, sticks his hand out and drops the blue drops. The water is clear. Where did the chlorine go? Right here, inside your body. So, it's just, you're drinking this stuff. If you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin, is what I always say. So I think I covered all the toxins that, right? I want to just say there's a 2022 and 2023 study I'm going to have Malcolm put up. And these studies say that in IVF settings, where assisted fertility settings, where they measured the women for these particular toxins we've been talking about, endocrine disrupting chemicals in their urine and blood. They found those with higher levels had decreased egg yield, decreased number of pregnancies, decreased number of live births, altered ovarian follicles, altered corpora luteal numbers. I think you can explain what that means. Impaired ovulatory processes, lower number of high quality embryos, and it's crazy. So
let's go back, because I'm curious if exposure as an infant, and certainly in utero, there may be some challenges that are happening to a growing fetus, but just all the the products we put on babies, and how that may affect the future reproduction or risk of cancers or Parkinson's or dementia, and then certainly, I mean, the majority of the use of let's just say cosmetics begins as a teenager, correct?
To be very, very honest with you, so when I first started Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, I put a ton of studies out there because I really wanted to get the information out. And a lot of the studies I focused on were studies that were kind of looking at the effect of a child that had been exposed in the womb. And absolutely it does. I mean, it affects the time of puberty of that child. It affects, like IQ rates. It affects their neurological development. It affects their hormonal build, like whether they have thyroid. Those who are exposed to certain chemicals have greater incidences of endometriosis. So it absolutely affects all different aspects of health, not just like the child's fertility. Yes, it affects the child's fertility because those that were exposed, mothers who carry a boy child, have very high rates of miscarriage. The phthalates are super highly correlated to male miscarriages of males, and their miscarriages, they're correlated to something called the phthalate syndrome, which is where the distance between the anus and the male reproductive organs is smaller. And so what happens is then when the boy grows a little, he has undescended testicles, and then later in life he has like lowered or no fertility. So it absolutely affects that, but it affects so many other things too. Higher levels of diabetes, higher levels of, and the ways they're also correlated to non-visibly, but they're like called organ anomalies. So it's not like a birth defect where you have a sixth, I don't know, a fifth, a fifth finger or a sixth, 6 digits, but it's still it's something that's not normal. And there's just so many of those studies. I could, if I wanted to, I could put a new study of that up every single day and not exhaust them.
So of all the products that we humans put on our body or in our body related to cosmetics or other health and wellness things that are not food, what percentage would you say are safe?
If you're looking for not like absolutely zero,
zero or extremely low.
I started this after working for International Luxury Brand Consulting, which is a consulting firm for beauty brands. And my colleagues told me, there's so many clean beauty brands. Why are you doing this? And I said, to challenge my colleagues, I said, find me 10 products that are no tox. Just find me 10. Actually, just find me 5. No one's ever been able to find me 5. And I challenge anyone watching, follow
And
my,
so,
send
uh,
me
uh,
your
so
ingredients list.
around the globe, and maybe more in America or some other European countries, but let's say around the globe, what percentage of women that are using these products? It must be the majority of women around the globe are using these products
Absolutely.
or something similar, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I saw a statistic. I forgot I think it might be Pew Research, but I don't know which research company. But it's 87% of all products that are brought home have microplastics. Okay. I believe it's something like 95% of all products that are bought, not the ones that exist, but are bought, because I did a study on the US, and there are only, like, when it comes to like Keto.com and Detox and all these very specialty, marketplaces that are stores that only sell you clean stuff. I mean, they have like 9 doors, like 9 physical shops in America. The majority of stuff that people buy is inexpensive. It's stuff from the dollar store or stuff from Target clean, Target so-called clean aisle, Sephora so-called clean aisle. Sephora was sued because their clean products weren't really clean. It was a class action suit. I mean, Target, I've walked through the aisles. None of it is clean. And I'm sorry to say that's just the fact. In Europe, you have certifying authorities, so, you get better.
So the use of these products is common, and whether you have the diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, reproductive diseases, or cancers, yet your risks are increased potentially because of use of these products. And you talked about a three-prong approach. Maybe you could start with one which is detoxing, which I'm assuming means you're removing the offending product, or maybe you could talk more about that first, and then we'll talk about keto and fasting.
Okay, sure. So let me just say one thing I forgot to say in relation to detox. Medical research says we get our toxins from 5 main areas. The top 2 are food and cosmetics. And how do they know it? Because since we have over 50 years of research on toxins screwing our health up, recently, since about 2017, they've started doing these studies where they take 5 different groups or 3 different groups, a number of different groups. Of people, they take one big group of people and they divvy them up into different groups, and all of the people have the same level of toxins in their urines and their blood. And then they change one thing. They'll take out the bad food and replace it with organic food in one group. They'll take out bad beauty and bath products and replace it with good beauty and bath products, or replace it with nothing. Just tell them stop using deodorant, stop using, right? And usually these studies are done on non-persistent, offending, because some of these toxins, they wash out, and so they're non-persistent, and some of them are forever chemicals. They stay in our bodies forever, like Teflon, for example, stays in our body forever, which is also found in mascara, Teflon. So, and what they found is consistently, and then they repeated them again and again and again. And then they have review papers that looked at hundreds of these types of studies. And what they found is that when it comes to beauty and bath care, the percent reduction after 2 weeks was somewhere between 66 and 80% reduction.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to food, they couldn't repeat it. They didn't always get the high numbers, and they didn't get that high numbers, and they couldn't always repeat it, because I think people do kind of eat organic already. But still, food and what you put in your body and what you put on your body is the top 2 categories of where we're getting them in. Now, when it comes to this 3-prong approach, before I jump into that, you would think given everything I said, that you got to detox, right? Everyone should detox. But yet, what I've discovered through my year at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, my 1 year and 2 months, is that detoxing is not taking place because people get overwhelmed. About 6 months after I started Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, people started coming to me, and you and I talked about maybe me putting together some courses. So I thought, let me put together a 5-video course, 5 videos, 1 video for each of the 5 sources of like toxin exposure. So 1 video on food, 1 video on detoxing cosmetics, 1 video on detoxing fashion, because a lot of the things we wear have like lead, arsenic, BPA, 1 on detoxing your cleaning products, because the dishwashing soap that you use in your dishwasher is filled with it, and then you're eating it, and 1 on like plastics in your kitchen and things you come into contact with, right? And across the board, I gave it to some fertility coaches who were asking me for it, just test out, just to kind of beta test for free. I didn't charge anyone. And some individuals on my Instagram. Across the board, I got 2 pieces of feedback. Either people did not watch it all because 5 20-minute videos were too long, or they felt overwhelmed once they got done watching it. And even my fertility coaches were like, we really want to do this. We really want to detox my clients, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. And what I ended up doing with the fertility coaches, because again, it's a way for me to test out what works, because I'd like to help people even more. Instead of just giving them information, expecting them to do it, I'd really like them to know that they're doing it. So what I found out, the way to detox is not to get on Instagram and read all these books, because there are a lot of reproductive endocrinologists that are producing books and podcasts on detoxing. Natalie Crawford, she had a podcast. She talks about it. Amy I can never say her last name. Amy Evazadeh. She talks about phthalates and miscarriages. Dr. Laura Shaheen, she has a book. She has a podcast. All these. I think that even Jeffrey Scher talked about it. So everyone's talking about it. But what people are doing is they're getting this information, they're feeling overwhelmed, and they don't know where to start. And what I've been starting to do with my fertility coaches, which really is working, unfortunately, I can't claim that it's me that helped, because I just give them the information as their client. I don't charge for it. But what's working is to look at their medical history and what they're trying to achieve and what's going on, and to tackle those specific toxins that are working against them the most. So just to give you one example, I had a lady a fertility coach who came to me and said, I have a client and her problem is, embryo implantation failure. She didn't give me her medical history. She didn't give me her like fertility history. And I was like, okay, well, if you tell me that, get rid of the BPAs. And then, I worked with her, talked to her about where BPAs could come from, talked with her about, using alternative products, making sure they're really clean, gave her tons of information on like detoxing, everything except food, because she did the food. And she was doing menus for this lady and it still didn't work. Then she came back to me. I said, well, did you try carnivore? If she doesn't want to do carnivore, try keto. If she doesn't want to do keto, try paleo. But high fat diet, low carbs, definitely the way. Okay, she came back to me and said she's still having trouble. I said, well, they have these tests. They're extremely expensive. I don't recommend them, but in this case, it might be a good thing. Million Marker actually tests for toxins, but it's $500. So she went off and did it, and phthalates were high. Well, and right around the time that they was doing the test, I also asked her, I said, do the test, but tell me something more about like what, tell me, how do you know it's embryo implantation failure? Maybe there's something else. And she said, well, she did get pregnant before. And I was like, oh, maybe phthalates, right? And turns out that Million Marker said she had high phthalates. And I was like, that's crazy, because she's not wearing perfume. We detoxed everything. Where could the phthalates come from? I said, what did she do for work? And she said, she works, she packages, she boxes up things, she tapes up boxes. And I said, adhesive has high levels of phthalates, but I can't imagine her touching so much tape. Turns out she was ripping the tape with her teeth. And I told her, get her to stop ripping the tape from her teeth, get her to wear gloves. 2.5 months later, she was pregnant, and she did carry to term. So this is what I'm saying. You need to really look at what each person is, dealing with, and try, instead of facing the mountain, I've got to detox this and this and this and this and this and replace this and this. Go for the things that are affecting that person the most, given what their medical history is and what they want. And I think that part has not come into the education yet, because what we're seeing in fertility clinics is we're seeing a lot of doctors talk about the detox part, but they haven't done this. I mean, my system now, and I want to launch it formally somewhere, but you got to have 3 forms, maybe an introduction video on like why you should detox. But once they're brought on board, it's like medical history. Okay, form 1, form 2, what are you putting on your body? And form 3, what are you putting into your body? What kind of food?
So eliminating the source of the toxin is really the most important thing. And one way to do that is go carnivore.
Yeah.
Keto is next, and paleo was below that, and then if you could find the source of the toxin, but I guess in measuring the toxin, that may be something to look at. What was the name of the company that does the
Million
toxin? Million.
million
And
million.
so, and we'll put a link to that for those that are looking for these things. But really clean up what you're putting in and on your body, and get an expert like Afshan to evaluate it and to go through it,
Carnivore,
because it
there's meat glue in there's meat glue in meat, and there are companies that you wouldn't know it because it looks like a beautiful sirloin. It looks like a real steak, but they've glued pieces of meat together. Organic
well,
chicken, they dunk them into bleach. Primal Pastures dunks them into vinegar. But it's a standard staple. When you're done with your organic chicken, before you give it to someone to take home and eat, you're gonna dunk it into bleach.
or vinegar. But it's knowing your butcher, knowing your farmer, knowing your rancher, knowing your
Oh my
sources.
God.
That is really part of it. And the same thing comes with what you put on your body, in your body, and whether you're a standard eater, you're in the keto carnivore world. These are important things. So to work to find the source and remove it. And so
Yeah.
the keto diet and keto carnivore paleo are really important areas, because I still think the majority of our toxins seem to come from the plants, and many cosmetics are made from plants. And then many of them obviously have synthetic compounds, but the water we drink, the cosmetics that we use, it's not only the actual cosmetic, it may be the container it's in.
Mm. It could be, yes, but
Could be, could be.
it could be. I mean, there are many possibilities. I want to tell you what Dr. Dale Bredesen is doing, because he brings these 3 things together. We've been talking about them individually,
Well,
but
let me just let's touch on fasting real quick, and then maybe we'll wrap it up with what the
okay.
doctor is doing individually.
Yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, definitely. Fasting is also a part of this. Yeah, you've got to do the 3 together: detox, keto, and it's really keto. And you see that more and more in the research since 2020. In medical research, they have, like, all these research papers, and a lot of them in 2023. The effects of ketogenic diet on cancer treatment, the effects of ketogenic diet on on PCOS, the effects of ketogenic diet. I mean, I have notes of them, but they're on multiple sclerosis, on epilepsy, on migraines, and it's positive on neurological disease. It's positive. And now they've got alongside that the effects of intermittent fasting on patients, cancer patients undergoing chemo, the effects of intermittent fasting on infertility patients, the effects of intermittent fasting on all of these neurological disease. And again, it's positive. So what I also see in the research is now keto plus intermittent fasting. That's 2023 is starting to look at those 2 things combined. And there are a lot of studies that say it's positive, or they say, well, we want to compare it to the Mediterranean diet, because there's so many people like hooked on this Mediterranean diet. And then they say, well, we don't have enough research. We don't have enough research. And I always say, the problem with the Mediterranean diet is they're comparing it. They're offering the Mediterranean diet as an alternative to eating like putty-filled burgers. You know, hamburgers in America, they're filled with silicone putty. So if you're putting silicone in your mouth, I mean, yeah, maybe the Mediterranean diet is great, you know, but
But
you're
so,
eating
so
silicone.
often, I mean, this is why I like carnivore, because it's a very narrow animal-based diet. You're really should be minimally eating plants, and if you're not getting better on the carnivore and you're still eating plants, eliminate the plants, and go strictly to animal products, which I think is always fatty. And the fasting, I think if you take fasting as the single leading thing you could ever do, it's probably been the most ancient thing you can do is not eating. And I think expanding it to 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, even up to 7 days, depending on your ability, the more fat you have on your body, the better. But your ability to understand that your body doesn't need food every day, and fasting will be the greatest detox. And when I say fasting, maybe we should talk about the fact you're not only not eating, but you're not utilizing the cosmetics or the other substances that we commonly use on our bodies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, fasting, fasting cosmetics is an interesting concept. I mean, I think that unfortunately these toxins are like in deodorant, toothpaste, triclesons in toothpaste, titanium dioxides in toothpaste. I mean, very toxic. So, you know, to find people who are willing to not brush their teeth for 7 days, not wash their face for 7 days, not wash their bodies for 7 days, not wash their hair for 7 days. It's tough, and it's in all those products. That's why I came out with a face wash and a hand and body wash first, and I will be coming out with a shampoo, conditioner, and I have a moisturizer coming out. But you know, which is just an oil. It's just a cold pressed oil. No,
And
no.
I find myself not using shampoo or soap. I just find myself rinsing off under a cold shower, and it really feels amazing. And since I'm primarily carnivore, and we just finished a 5 day fast, which gets easier and easier as you practice this, because our habits, and I imagine the same thing with eating, with cosmetics. Your habit is to wash yourself with whatever soap and products you use, and then put your foundation on or your makeup on in other ways. And it's our habit that'll say, oh my God, I can't go out without this.
Yeah,
And maybe
I mean,
that's the change we have to be thinking about.
yeah. It's a big ask for a lot of people, especially, you know, people who have to go to work and look a certain way and all of that. So, I mean, I don't know if we'll get to that point on a mass level, but I think my hope is that what's happening in the neurological health world, like in the world of, you know, neurology with these three prongs, because 2,000 clinics have adopted this thing called the Bredesen protocol. And what is it? It's a keto diet that he says his patients have to stop eating 3 hours before they go to bed, and then they go to bed, let's say at 10, and then they don't eat again until 10 in the morning, and they can push it out further. They don't have to eat at 10, but it's a minimum of 15 hours fasting and a keto diet and a detox of those toxins linked to Alzheimer's. Now, here is the crazy thing. He tested his patients. I want to read the results because they are just phenomenal. He tested his patients before he put them on this protocol. Okay. Patients with a fifth percentile, and what is the name of the test? I want to get it right. Verbal learning went from fifth percentile to 80th percentile after his protocol. Then auditory delayed memory. This is a very common test for Alzheimer's. And you'll say a number, and you'll ask the person, you know, which number did I say when? You know, auditory delayed memory went from 15th to 75th percentile. He reversed the Alzheimer's, reversed or stopped it in its track. And 84% of his patients improved on the protocol. He published these studies and then went on a press tour. And that's when, and this happened like, and he published another book with these patients like stories in 2021. And by 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, all this research came out. And now 2,000 medical clinics treating neurological disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, have adopted his protocol. So I'm just waiting for someone, maybe it's going to be you, to do the same for fertility, because
Well,
we're talking
we're
about,
already, well, let's just say we're already doing it
well, we're
because our,
not doing it in a way where we can track.
meaning we're doing it. And now it's a matter of gathering the information from those
Yes.
clients. But I think the most important part that I've always thought is let's bring the information to the masses and let them know about it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we're always waiting for another study to prove something. We already know that fasting and keto carnivore is one of the healthiest things you can do. And
Yeah.
so that's what my intention in this world. I believe that it's important to, document and share this, but we really have the knowledge, remove the toxins, identify the most likely toxic offending foods or cosmetics or other things that get in and out of our body, whether it's from what you breathe, drink, eat, or bathe in, or soak in, or put on your body, and then look towards keto, carnivore, and fasting are really the foundation of the things that we talk about. And I know you have brought that out because the diseases, as we've said, are on the rise.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that there are studies starting. There are more and more studies on keto. I did see one study on carnivore, specifically looking at whether we could receive all the nutrients we needed from a carnivore diet, and the answer was yes. So I
Well,
think
if you look back at James Henry Salisbury and you look back and back and back, evolutionarily, we did not eat plants.
yes,
And
sure.
and so I mean, we already essentially every mineral, vitamin, and nutrient is in the meat, but the plants actually don't provide all the minerals, vitamins, and nutrients you need, and they steal them from us.
Mhm.
So you're eating a toxic food, which is actually causing the optimal the optimal is carnivore.
Yeah,
Marijuana, nicotine, caffeine, cyanide, all of these things are made from plants.
yeah,
And name a toxin that comes from a ribeye steak. You cannot.
yeah. And the thing about the chemicals that I've talked about, the endocrine disrupting chemicals, they were created. Remember, BPA was created as an alternative to estrogen. What's the natural found alternative to estrogen, to human estrogen? Phytoestrogen. So they were made to
Yes.
look chemically like the plant
Huh.
toxin.
Which is where we learned all this science from, because the yam was the first source of a birth control, and it's probably
Yep.
been used for thousands of years. Plus, plants are used as abortifications. So all of these things.
I will be linking. I didn't mention essential oils, but essential oils are, titanium dioxide is a naturally occurring substance. Essential oils are a naturally occurring substance, and the title of the study is titanium dioxide, nanoparticles, titanium dioxide, toxic to human reproduction.
Yeah.
The study on essential oils say essential oils are fetal toxic and embryo toxic. They cause, preeclampsia, fetal growth retardation, preterm birth, miscarriage, you name it. So yeah, absolutely. But I think what we need to do is, help people detox, because it's very, very difficult. And I think by detoxing, I mean just identify the toxins and remove them.
Well, which would be really, it's like a food diary. Like, put a diary of everything you touch and put on your body, or you drink and eat, or that you expose yourself to. Even the home you live in may be highly affected by molds and other toxins in your home. So start with that list of putting it down, write it down, bring someone in that might see something different than you're seeing. I think that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, and if anyone is trying to conceive and would like help, please contact me at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics. Message me on Instagram or send me an email, info@pregnancySafeCosmetics.com, because I will help you.
Afshan Hussain from Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics. This has really been a superstar presentation. We appreciate your passion, your scientific approach to this. And we're going to have another conversation about this coming up and talk more about it. And we'll have links on our website and be able to link from Carnivore Conversations to your site. So thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.